Hi, I hope you had a great day so far. I'm happy that you are still around, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about creating NFT art pieces. I am Ariane. I have a studio in Berlin called Good Vibes Berlin, and I'm freelancing since 2017. And before I was working for the biggest television company in Germany called Pro7 Sat.1, where I created a lot of TV designs and channel designs, but for me, it's not really about the end product of a piece. It's always the same process, so I don't mind if the final product is a web design or a hoodie or a product design or a TV show. It's always the same process. I try to understand the brand, the customer. I try to feel the vibe of the brand, and I like to create all the things around it: the logo, the shapes, the animations, the fonts. So it all comes together and will be a perfect piece in the end for the customer that will use it. So, but today I will not talk to you actually about my commercial work. This is just a little piece I wanted to show you. I will talk to you about my personal work that actually led into NFT design, because I was always really much into art and drawing, and I was always very fashionable. And so when I started freelancing in 2017, I took a lot of time to go back to my illustrations, and I did a lot of digital illustrations. I would just do it for myself and put it on Instagram, because Instagram back then was the place where you could upload your designs, your artworks, and connect with other artists. And so yeah, I did all these character designs in my free time, and had great fun of showing them to the world, and just really did it for myself. And I also would go around the city and take pictures or go traveling and then draw my little characters in them to show people how I see the world, because I see always so much more. And this actually led to my first exhibition in 2017, where I would work the same way. It was at the Stroke Art Fair in Munich. And the Stroke is one of the biggest art fairs in Europe, so I was really happy to exhibit there. And I used the same technique. I worked together with a photographer, and I printed out his images, and I would draw my characters on them. And yeah, it was really a great thing to do that. And so I had a lot of projects I did like that. I created these two characters that are called Monsieur Dijon and his flying croissant. And I did a book, and at the moment, actually, I'm talking about a little book deal with these characters, but this was also just a project I really did for myself and put it out, besides all the commercial work I was doing all the time, and still working for the TV companies and other stuff. And I'm showing you this because what you see in the end is always the successful works, like success meaning people make money out of it. And in the end, you always see that like, oh, wow, that's cool. But there's always like years before that and doing other stuff that maybe doesn't turn into something. So this, for example, is a character I designed called Frida Berlin. And I thought, hey, this is such a cool idea. She can be the first illustrated influencer. And I will just take pictures of Berlin, where I live. And my second name is Frida. So Frida Berlin just can live on Instagram and be an influencer. And I accessorized her with bags and jackets and other stuff, and thought, okay, that will go crazy. But yeah, people really liked it and everyone loved it, but it never really led into any real jobs. And I did it for a year. And so again, one of the projects, yeah, that did not go too far. And then in the beginning of last year, if you remember, we had a pandemic. And I live in Berlin, and Berlin in winter is dark and sad. And especially with the pandemic, when you cannot go into restaurants or clubs, the only thing you can do is sitting in your apartment and thinking about the best way to kill yourself. So I thought, okay, it's much better to leave this country right now. And I said goodbye, I'm going to Bali. And I wanted to go to Bali for 4 weeks, but then I ended up living there for 6 months actually. And what happened on March 20th, 2021 is I was sitting right there. And instead of looking into the beautiful jungle, I was looking at my laptop, and I was watching a video about what are NFTs and OpenSea. And I thought, okay, this is super interesting actually, because I am doing all this stuff on my own anyway all the time, and I just put it out on Instagram for people to enjoy. And why not put it on a platform like OpenSea and make people actually, able to own it? So I remember that I created these 6 characters called the Martmon. And I call them Martmon because they are things you can get in the supermarket. They are food related and they look like little monsters or Pokemon. And I was also just putting them out and creating little comics around them. For example, this one about the little cheese that feels fat and it has to lose some pounds. So, of course, the only solution is plastic surgery. And it feels much better afterwards. And things like that I just like to share with the world. So I decided in Bali, okay, I will put them on OpenSea and it will be a big thing. And what happened was super crazy because nothing actually happened for a lot of months. And many months later, in December, when these 6 little friends were still sailing on open sea, a lot of my friends were actually having wallets and they started to collect NFTs. So I just talked to some of them and said, hey, by the way, you collect NFTs, I have them. Wouldn't you mind owning one of them? They're so cute. And one of the friends I talked to was Tim Bengel, who is actually a really, really amazing artist. And I love his art a lot. And he's a vegan, and I had a little carrot. So I said, Tim, hey, wouldn't you love to have this Vegemon in your collection? And he said yes. And he did not even promote it at all on his Instagram or channels. But I posted an Instagram story that I'm super happy that Tim got one of my little friends here. And yeah, that he's one of my favorite artists. And that's super cool. So within 2 days, all of the other little friends were gone suddenly because people got interested in them and they wanted more. So I created this collection. It's called the Martmon family. You can have a look at it on OpenSea. And I created 33 so far, and they are all reserved or sold at the moment. And I had to stop this project for another one, but I will create 100 in total. So come up to me if you're interested. And because, the other project that was coming along actually also started in Bali, where I was hanging out with this amazing crowd. And we had the best time sitting at this space and watching the sunsets and enjoying our lives. And the guy in the middle is called Carlo, and he's actually well known in Germany under the name Crow because he's a very amazing musician. But he's not only a musician, he also does art, and he's a great artist, and he does these amazing oil paintings that are really beautiful, and he's in a lot of galleries now worldwide. And one of the paintings he created is called Michelle, and this is a piece that he took to Timeless, and they fractionized it into 1,000 pieces, and within minutes they sold all of them, and people really, really wanted to own some of his work. So they thought, okay, this is super cool. How can we take this to the next level? And so in summer they decided, okay, we want to do a collection with 1,000 pieces and work together with different artists. And again, here I'm very happy that Tim also is one of the artists that collaborated besides me. And what they did is they asked us to create really unique pieces. So it's not like, for example, the Bored Apes, where you create all the assets and then you put it into the computer and then they generate it and you get out 100,000. So every artist really had to put a lot of work and create a unique piece. And in summer, I talked to Benno, that is the brother of Carlo, because they were in Berlin for a concert. And he said, hey, Ariane, I remember you did this Martmon collection. You're also into NFTs. Wouldn't you like to join this project? And I said, yes, of course. He said, perfect. You have to do 100 pieces in 2 weeks. And I said, yes, of course. But actually, I had no idea how I would do that because I was fully booked. And but the thing is, you should always say yes when a project like this comes along. So I figured it out somehow, basically without no sleep and not seeing my friends and family anymore for a while. But I got 4 weeks in the end, so that was really cool. And as I said, every piece is unique. So I will talk to you a little bit of the creation process because that's maybe something you have not seen before. So every of us artists got this 3D model of Michelle, and we were not allowed to do something super crazy, like no heads or a cigarette in her mouth. But we were allowed to bring in our own style and to texturize it and create our own pieces. So I wanted to do something a little bit different because as I showed you before, I always worked a lot with 2D designs and outlines and illustration. And with 3D, I have the feeling that you cannot always see the artist behind it because things look really similar. So I said, okay, I want to put in as much 2D and illustrated elements in it as I can. It's example in the down and the right, I also put in some 2D leaves, but it's a lot of work. It's actually more work than doing it in 3D. So I could not do it in every piece, but what I did in every piece is creating an outline around the characters. So I wanted for people to look at this collection of 1,000 pieces. Okay, this is one that Ariane did because it has the outline around it. So for example, this is one I did for the Neon collection, and this is the final one with the outline. And also Michelle, that is an actual person, it's an inspiration. She's from Bali and I met her and we met in the jungle. So I wanted to do this jungle collection and she loves the Jungle Book and I created this backplate with the names of the Jungle Book characters. So it's a little Easter egg because you actually cannot see it at all in the end because the sculpture is in front. And this is the final touch with the outlines and the final finish. And Michelle also loves bananas, so I really wanted to do a banana collection. And this is where I went really crazy because I wanted to do a Morabito collection because Morabito is the place called where we would always hang out and we had these amazing sunsets and the palms and the reflection in the water. So these are all elements I really wanted to bring in and it went into a really trippy collection. But I love it and it all really has a personal story. So I created 10 collections with 10 pieces each, so 100 in total, and I could tell you a story about everyone, actually, but these are just some of the ones that I wanted to show you, and if you're interested in it, you can check out more. It's a collection that's on OpenSea. It's called the Carlito Collection by Crow and Timeless, and if you put a check mark down at my name, you can see some of my designs that are on trading right now. We sold all of the tokens within 2 days, before we release the final images that would everyone get. So at the moment, it's just trading. And yeah, if you want to join, you're welcome to. And anyways, if you have some interest in NFT designs or looking for a designer or just want to talk to me, you can add me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram, of course, also on LinkedIn, or you can check out my website. And yeah, I would love if you just come up to me and talk to me. So yeah, I was really happy to be here and talk to you. Thank you.